Hey, 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 what is going on, IK Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder. Today, I wanted to spice things up and take a completely different approach on a video, thinking that it would be really cool and fun to look at the recent, just kind of go through a bunch of recently submitted suggestions that have been essentially approved for voting. Right, and in this case, most of them are, but you can find these on the official Infinity Kingdom Discord, and that's pretty much what we're going to do. We're going to read a bunch of these. Again, however long this might go, we'll try and keep it to about 5 or 10 minutes, and I'll just kind of give you my thoughts, my opinion on it, and then, again, in addition, pass the question off to you guys on, how you feel about some of these that we're going to go through. Okay. As always, before we get started, make sure you guys sub, like, ring the notification bell, and, of course, if you want to be a part of our conversation, you can join our Discord. Okay, here we go. We're going to start at the bottom here. Ruli says, add the option to refresh arena opponents with gems. Interestingly enough, this is actually something that I had suggested in our kind of round. God, I want to say we've probably been doing this for a few rounds now on our suggestion feedback that we've done. But this is something I actually agree with, and I think is definitely a must, right? If it's 10, 20, 30 gems, however many it is, right? Hopefully not too much, but I do think, right, you can get away spending a little bit amount of gems on it when it comes just to being able to do some refreshes. Okay, next one here is Tai Tai. Add the AP bottles to the Alliance shop. They're hard to come by as is and would be a great idea to add them to the Alliance shop. Okay. Adding AP bottles to the Alliance shop. What I am going to say here on this already is I don't think that there is a necessary need to add additional ways to get AP currently. I'm actually going to downvote this. And the reason why is because the game itself has created such an amazing atmosphere for the free-to-play players. Just by limiting AP, you therefore bottleneck spenders to only being able to attack so many times. A prime example is if you look at a game like Rock, Rise of Kingdoms, you can attack an unlimited amount of times. All you have to do is just make sure that you have enough troops. And that really allows for whales to just high spenders to go wild. So the fact that they limit the amount of AP, therefore limiting the amount of attacks, making you choose between events, using AP on PvP or PvE, is such a fantastic compromise that I just don't think we're at a point in time yet where we need to look at increasing AP, and that's the main reason why. Sono, what up, baby? All right, here we go. Add VIP shop for every VIP level from 5 through 15. The shop gets better the higher you go. I am actually not opposed to this. I think this is not a bad idea, especially if you started off at a certain level. Again, this is something that Rise of Kingdoms does, where they have a very extensive VIP shop, and you get access to it at certain VIP levels, but you cannot access some of the higher level things, obviously, until you go up. I actually am in favor of this, regardless if they do it at 5 to 15, 10 to 15, right? I don't think this is a bad idea. Let me see, Galaxy says, add a discard unwanted dragon chest function. Oh, interesting. So he's basically saying to, like, if you want to cast off, like, a low-level chest, so to speak. I partly think this is something where you probably will come across this when you finally max out your dragon for all their 3 skills. And then I think doing something like having a way to maybe, like, disenchant your dragon and kind of go to universal shards. Maybe you get, like, a smaller ratio if you want to convert it, or maybe use them for something else. Unless the devs have plans to do something else with dragons, where you might end up using shards for something in addition to that. Maybe they'll do a star function, right? Maybe you can, like, star your dragon out to upgrade them a little bit more, right? Where you kind of have the skills for the dragons, which are more similar to or comparative to talk skills, right? Maybe you actually have like a dragon star level, and maybe you can add artifacts onto dragons. Who knows, right? But I think as far as disbanding or being able to kind of get rid of chests, I don't see a problem with this. If people want to kind of get rid of chests, I'm more of the belief that you should just use all your chests no matter what. It doesn't matter what you get because you're using an amount of AP to get them. But hey, if people want to discard chests that they've used AP to get, no problem with that. So yeah, you get my sympathy vote. Calc says, allow R6 to edit alliance permissions and rename the newbie. This is fantastic. I did upvote this one. I think this is a great idea. Allowing your, and if we go in-game, I'll give you an example, right? So if you can go in here, and if you can like rename where this thing is, right, to make these custom, that would be so cool. I am actually totally in favor of this idea. Okay, next one here is, oh gosh, did I go too far? Here we go. Have a way to exchange types of speed ups. Building speeds become useless after you max everything. So the thing is, I do like this idea, but I want to put an asterisk here, right? I like the idea of adding in a function to do it, because bear in mind, if they, we know they're going to be increasing levels, and so your what this person refers to as useless speed ups, right, aren't actually going to be useless anymore. In addition to when this is posted, this person just may not know that they're going to be increasing levels eventually. So again, right, this is something I like the idea of being able to either, like, as an example, you know how like sometimes you'll have resources, and I'll actually show you here in game. This is something that you can do where if you go to your items, and let's say I go to some of these that I'm just, I might never use again. Like here, let's just look at this Cleopatra souvenir coin. I can sell these, right? Well, they'll convert into gold. I actually think this is a cool thing where you can convert these into some gold. I think the ratio is low as a 1-to-1. Not that I'm mad at it, but this is just an example of how you would convert some of your resources in that regard. Something similar to what I'm imagining that he's referring to and wanting just an opportunity. So I actually don't think there's a problem with that. Neil says, remove the ability of one server to have limit of power so that players over this power camp can jump in. No one should be able to prevent this kingdom from invasion. If someone stronger than you comes, then you just need to deal with it or leave. So, interestingly enough, I feel like this person probably plays Lords Mobile, because I know this is something that is very big there. I know that some people have mentioned that they had recently got an update that does prevent a little bit of this, if that is true. But from my understanding on everything I've always heard from LM is that you could go to any server you want to, invade any server you want to. I think West Game is a little bit similar to that as well. So I actually think this is like the worst idea. Not to say that like this person's the worst for suggesting it, but just the idea in general, I think is just not a good idea. That is how you quickly create dead servers. You have, what I would consider to be unhealthy and lower morale based servers, because you always are kind of in fear of being raided in that sense. I think when you look at games like Rock, and I know others have done this as well, but I know Rock kind of, being a mainstream, when you look at how they've done migration, their system and access, I think IK has done a fantastic job of that, where they actually give you the opportunity to kind of set no limits, right? Which I don't think it is an option in Rock, but you are limited in some regard based on what your status is. So again, I like the way that IK has set up their system. I actually think that they should just add a button that says custom, and then they can put in a custom number and just have that be, whatever it is. If they want to put that at 500,000, they want to put that at 666,000, whatever, right? I just like the idea of them being able to custom. Otherwise, if they can add a few other things in, when it comes to, as an example, if it's 500K, 750K, I think that would be great as well. But yeah, just having the servers be no limit, I actually think that's a lot more detrimental than what some people would think. And these types of suggestions usually come from people that are heavy spenders or whales most of the time, because they just want to go in and wreck face. Boogeyman. My boy Boogie, what up? In Mysterium, can we get a percentage chance to drop fodder artifacts, green or blue, then we can use to upgrade artifacts that are important to us? So I actually think this is a pretty good idea, as far as just adding on a way to, whether they add something that already exists, right, for what you can get possibly from like the PvP matchups that you do. Maybe you just have a chance to get these from the boss matchups. As far as more consistently throughout, I don't think this is a bad idea, and I think it encourages as well having more ways to access artifact materials to upgrade them, which hopefully would encourage more people to do it too as well. Solarium says, add new IK chat emojis. We already got some, so I know that, but still a win. Ariana says, maybe add an item for 500 to 1,000 gems that allows you to track or port to someone by their name. Yeah, that's more like a cheat code. I don't think that's going to fly extensively. Zar says, remove dead accounts from the server after a certain amount of time passes of them not logging them. If that account does log back in, the account reappear in the server. This, to me, I actually think is a genius idea. I understand probably why some people would downvote it, but this is something that Rock implements, and I actually think this is a big win. The reason why is because, and this is something that most likely the people who downvoted just haven't taken into consideration because they probably just have no idea that this could be a factor. And only because they've really started doing this on a very small scale with the information that the devs have put out. The main reason why you would see something like this happening is predominantly because we know now that KVK is going to be, once the MMR comes out, they will take into factoring top player power. Now, most likely it's probably going to be Lord power. Maybe they'll do true power, but I would imagine for the most part it's going to be Lord power, and then they'll do some other factors. If you have a top 300 Lord power, a top 100 from each faction, and let's say you have 25 people, 25 to 50 people, right, just in your top 100 that are inactive, right? Those players would get factored into your server's MMR, meaning that they would arguably place you higher than you would normally have been placed if those active people were filled by the next 25 to 50 players past the top 300 that would then fill into the top 300. On the opposite side, even if it didn't lower your server's power, that is still inactive players that are not able to participate in SVS, and that is regardless, right, of it factoring into whatever the MMR would be or not. So because of probably the first biggest reason, that's why I'm actually in favor of this feature. I think it's actually a good one, and it also helps if they ever come out with more server tools and utilizations, ways to do stat tracking within the server that maybe the king can have. This is something we suggested before. This would be a big reason on why you would want to kind of remove those inactives. But again, this is for a specific reason, right? It would be something like to help with the KVK MMR, because this could factor into it heavily depending on how they do it. Okay, next is going to be Zuki says, can we have a leaderboard for Lord power troops across all servers? For this one, I don't know. I'm 50-50 here. Again, if there's no way, because it depends, right? I mean, if they don't come out with like eventually like cross-server friending, where you can like message people from other servers, right? That would be really cool. That I know we've talked about and touched on a little bit. I think having I think what he's referring to is like a server-wide leaderboard, not just, or I guess like a global leaderboard, not just a server leaderboard, but like a game-wide leaderboard. I don't know. I'm 50-50 on this. I probably would have to give it a little bit more thought. Because again, when this is the thing, when you do something like that, right? The moment that you start putting in place, and this is the one thing I will say, because this came across when I was doing my my top 25 servers, strongest servers in the game, top 25 strongest alliances, these types of things. Right, most servers, servers with the most amount of Castle 40s, from like 1 to 69, I think we did. The thing I'm going to say on this is that it can also create somewhat of a further imbalance. And the reason why is because players may flock more so to servers where they see more of a collection of top players in. And again, that's one of the reasons why when I do those top 25 videos, I always come out with a big disclaimer in the beginning that says, right, don't just go there because it's power, right? Always do your research. Do your due diligence. Go and interview people, ask people questions before you migrate there. Make sure it is a good fit for you. This is a similar thing that could happen. Though this isn't to say that I'm absolutely against it. If they did it to where they just showed you the name, right, of the player, but they didn't give you any other details, I actually think that would be okay. As far as if they added in extra details where maybe you could click on the name and you could like see the server they're from, the alliance they're in, like kind of like a profile card but maybe a little bit different or expanded, I don't know. I'm 50-50 there, which is why I didn't really feel a vote or not. And then Nando up here says, add button to skip the start game tutorial. The only reason why I have voted Why I have voted for this is because, one, if they added a skip button to the tutorial, it would take a shorter time to make new accounts. And the fact is that it's one of the great things about someone like myself and others who like to grind making extra accounts, right? Whether it's for me doing stat gathering or for other reasons, whereas, not everyone's going to want to put that time in. So again, I like the fact that they haven't added a skip button in the tutorial yet. Solarium up here says, R5 can set COR contracts, and leader can only change them if needed, and the progress resets. I actually really like this change. I think the fact that officers currently cannot set contracts is definitely something that needs to be included, hopefully sooner than later. Officers should definitely be able to set contracts. Right, I can understand maybe if you're going to change contracts. I don't really see a problem almost with them managing contracts at all, especially if you're all on the same page. I don't know if there necessarily needs to be any restrictions, but I like the idea of officers being able to manage contracts. Boom, I'm a go. Suggest giving small amount of alliance coins for each help given on building research. This would encourage players to spend more time on game and assist with purchasing space portals. So I actually really like this idea of doing things that can increase engagement, and I like where this person came from. You can tell this is a thought-out idea, and I appreciate that. So, and again, it doesn't have to be a lot, right? It could be 1 coin per help, right? I mean, even if you just look at, as an example, right, if I go in and you look at, like, I'll just click on myself, right? I have 5,160 helps, right, on this account, right? Some other people, oh, hang on, I gotta click on someone that's been here like a minute. So I can give a good example. Nordic's got 5,000. Here we go. Like Nordic's got 25,600. Right? Maybe you do like a 1-for-1. I would say anywhere between a 1-for-1 and 1-for-2, because Nordic's been here with us day one. I think we're almost at. I don't even know where our timeline is here. One sec. Let's see. I wish it showed me somewhere easier where I don't have to like scroll down to it. Okay, so let's go here. So server's 112 days old. So in 112 days, right, it's 25,000 coins. Even if you double that, that puts you at 50,000 coins, right? It's still only 2 space teleports. I actually think you could do something like a 1-to-2 ratio for this and still get away with it. Like just for helps, right? Like, so for every help you get 2 alliance credits. I actually don't think that is bad, and it's not that much, because remember, you have to be online a long time, right, to always be doing helps in order to accumulate those, right? So it's almost kind of like you look at, and again, that's using alliance coins for whatever, but at least in regards to the space teleport comment, it's a similar thing when you look at Golden Path, right? Golden Path, you're essentially having to grind that out all the time. Right, in order to just get enough of them to where eventually you will be able to use some of those on space teleports there from the Golden Pass shop. So I actually like this idea. Please allow us to see the R5s and members of the alliances. So this isn't a suggestion from Zuki, and in short, I am 50-50, but I do lean, well, I guess I should say, I do lean a little bit more in favor here, mainly because, at least coming from Rock, I do like it. However, I do see some drawbacks to it as well. I don't know if the drawbacks necessarily outweigh the pros. I think so far, because I really haven't seen, I mean, the only thing that I find ever comes up is if you are like joining, like if you're in a server, or like you're in a server and you go into World Chat, let's just say you need to speak to an officer of that alliance, right? The only way you could do that is just by posting in World Chat saying, hey, I need to speak to an officer of that alliance, unless you can find an officer that's posted there before, then you can message them directly. So I think if maybe they just allowed people to see the officers and the leader of an alliance, maybe that could be a start. I don't necessarily know how I feel about allowing for them to see all the members, again, because I'm looking at it at more long-term implications, like as far as people spamming players from our alliances, because bear in mind, right, this is something that if you look at like a resource seller, for example, even though it's not really even a thing, but just as an example, right? They can only message like the top 300 people on any one of the leaderboards. That's a limited amount of people outside of doing promo messages in chat. If they allow for you to see every single member of every single alliance, right, you could be getting spammed all the time even more, and possibly by other people outside of resource sellers. So that's kind of where I'm looking at it from that perspective. I like the idea, but I would just say only make it to where officers in the leader can be viewable. Then we get here, Dash says, give King an ability to set the world chat time from 0 to 9 seconds to like where people can be like limit. Like he basically wants like a cooldown timer here. So interesting idea. I don't know how I feel about that. Then he says, put an option to mute the loading screen without needing to press the mute button every time you log in. I actually think that's a win of an idea. All right, guys, we're at 20 minutes now. I was not expecting for it to take this long, but I guess that kind of is what happens when you add on your explanation and your opinion and feedback onto the suggestions. I'm going to try and do these more often because I really love the fact that people use this, people go there and vote, and this is also hopefully a way to promote this channel within the Discord, right? Make sure you submit, make sure you read through these, even if you just check them every day. Vote on the things that matter to you and that you think could be good ideas, because these are things I can definitely tell you, right, that the IK team will look at, especially for the stuff that is really highly voted. So again, I hope that this served as a kind of a good promotional avenue for checking out the suggestion category here. And again, I would love to know your thoughts on some of the suggestions, submitted suggestions that we've looked at, and what you think about some of them. Let me know what you guys feel in the comments down below. That is it for me. Until next time, we will catch y'all later.